Hello, and welcome to my channel on human design. Well, today we're going to begin with mysticism and finish with manifestors. So some interesting questions, and this is what I love about this platform, and that I don't know what you're going to ask me. So here's one on reincarnation. Let's begin there. This is from Qis. What is your philosophy regarding reincarnation and human design? For example, if a 6-2 is out of balance when they come off the roof, or Chiron, my friend is an alcoholic and heavy smoker. 6-2 cross of identification. Needless to say, she has endured some heavy trauma. Although she does live out her channels in ways I doubt she's living out her true incarnation cross. Do you believe the soul reincarnates with the same cross if it has failed to execute the plan designed correctly? Unless you believe the soul chooses to sample a totally different cross or design. I've heard in other spiritual fields we hold the same frequency. In HD, perhaps the same gates, mechanics when we reincarnate? Kind of like keeping the same personality in a new vessel. Another interesting question from you, Kuis. Thank you. Yeah, it's not what I believe. It's what I see in human design. Reincarnation is a real thing. You can see it right at the almost end of the penultimate end of the quarter of mutation. You see the 41. And then it moves into the 19. The 41 is a start codon coming right at the very end. And the 19 is then the neediness that comes to us when we are babies, you know, human babies, completely vulnerable and in need to be fed, to be nurtured, etc. So it's kind of built into the whole Maya that reincarnation is a real thing. And there is a lot of evidence out there. If you look for people that still remember past lives, can actually take their current parents to the place where they grew up in some cases and know the names and the histories of the people there. So yeah, it's a real thing. Now, in terms of mechanics and in terms of our understanding in human design, it's an easy thing to say, well, look, I've got an identification to what's black in my chart. It is like the soul, therefore it will reincarnate in a different body every time. But the complexity of the matrix has to be considered and reimagined with totally different parameters, in my view. If that was the case, as simple as that, then Ra would have said that and talked more on it. He didn't say that. What he did say was that the base remains the same, and the base is like the perspective. So we've got the gate, the line, the color, the tone, and then the base. The base is the thing that doesn't change lifetime after lifetime. And our understanding of what it is to be in this totality is something to be discovered a bit at a time as we go through our journey, as we begin to become more in a witness to the life and see what unfolds. So that's really all I can say to you. It's not as simple as that, and yes, we do come back. All right. Thank you for the question. And now another question related to the mystical line, the 54-4. And now we have another mystical question focused on the 54-4 from 3 Allures Academy. And this is the question. Overall, in my body graph, I have 2 channels defined, the 34-20 and the 54-32. I have Neptune highlighting this gate 54-6 on the personality side. The unconscious channel forms with Uranus and Neptune, both at 54-4 and Jupiter at 32-3. I have read how the 54-4 is the most mystical line of the Rave I Ching. I've had many experiences I classify as mystical, and sometimes I narrated them like it's a natural thing. My mind has interpreted this unconscious channel as transformation through bonds. I've come to understand that with the planets there, it may not just be physical bonds. For example, I've been finding magic in the mundane things like sitting by the ocean and watching her clean out her waters physically. And I've also picked up on the mystical aspects. What insights can you share relating this? How would this affect my spleen and root? How can I integrate this energy? I know you don't have my full chart, but I'm looking forward to your response. Okay, thank you for the question. And in a nutshell, I would say sudden and subtle meets constant reevaluation. The potential in the 54 is to rise up, is to be transformed in an upward movement, ideally towards the 45. You know, this is the material way, but it can also be the spiritual way in this line. So let's read it. Enlightenment, endarkenment. Here in this most mystical of positions, there is neither an exaltation nor a detriment, for in truth they are the same. The Alpha and Omega, the end and the beginning, there is no description possible. Each planet will manifest this energy uniquely, with absolutely no guarantee its effects will even be perceived. However, the potential is always there. The fuel for transformation at its purest level. There is no polarity, there is no specific planetary accent. The 4 is a kind of a nexus. And here it's a kind of a nexus meeting point where the effects may not even be noticed. So most 54-4s that I've met, they're very down-to-earth people. It's like, you know, just get on with it. You know, they're not particularly mystical. And nothing much impresses them. They have, after all, great, great potential within them. So when I think about the mystical aspects of this in your chart, and as I said, there's this indecision in times of transformation in the 32-3. And at the same time, the 54-4 is in Uranus, in the unexpected, and it's in Neptune, behind the veil, which I refer to as being subtle, not easily grasped, something sudden that is not easily grasped, something that can be transforming in the recognition in the moment tied to the spleen. So it will be something that just comes, and your example of sitting by the ocean and being part of it, that's a very good example. It cannot be predicted. The magic in the mundane cannot be predicted. It can never be predicted, but it's something that arises out of your own drive to succeed, your drive to move on, and in this case, on and through something, a moment that no one has ever described before, an experience that no one has really lived through before in the same way that you do. So it's basically potential. And the potential as a nexus point here can go in many different directions, in many different meetings. You mentioned it about bonds. Well, yes, there is a relationship between, you know, the ambitious and the ones that employ them. And there is that flirty side of the 54 that wants to get into the business, to get into the opportunity to be able to transform and lift up the business and bring it forward and be recognized in that. In the spiritual realm, it is about you also recognizing that in you through the moments that you experience. And there is nothing you need to do to integrate it. It is already there. This isn't about doing, this is about recognition. This is about recognizing in the moment when there is that energy that's flying through you, something you're perceiving that you've only just perceived suddenly, and you allow yourself to go into that and you see the effects of it as a result. And in the recognition, you know, it could be something to integrate into your life, but from the experience, from what has happened as a result. So what I can say to you is, look, mull over the planetary accents, mull over the fact that you also have the 3420 that wants to get on and just do stuff, to be lost in the doing. When you're in your doing, you're not in your thinking, you're in your doing. And in the doing, something may happen, some occurrence may happen, some realization may happen. You know, while you're not thinking, while you're not trying to integrate anything, you've already got a strong integration done. You don't need to, all right? You don't need to. You need to experience it and see where that goes. And it's endless. You know, I want you to see it's endless. It's endless. The only thing in our way is ourselves. So thank you for the question. That was an interesting one. And I have done a video on the 54.4 if you check back on the YouTube videos, and there's more detail there. So now let's move on to manifestors. Now, the first question for manifestors is from Anna, and she speaks about herself as a manifestor and her daughter as a manifestor. This is her question. I have two questions. I am an ego manifestor by way of the 2551 and 731. Plus, I have the 2343. My daughter is also an ego manifestor, but she has the more traditional question mark 2145. My question is, how would these two types of ego manifestors differ in how their ego authority guides them? I am thinking your answer may include the fact that my channels are projected, but I'll wait for your reply. And also my cognition is feeling. Meanwhile, I have an open solar plex. I have a feeling that these two are not inconsistent, but I would love to hear what you have to say. An interesting question, Anna. And let me deal with the manifestor part first. So you are a ego manifestor that moves through the projected channel. So you've got to be recognized, you know, in the initiation, and then in the leadership to share with the people what will be helpful for them. That kind of will is really about the challenge, you know, it's about you recognizing and being recognized for being able to take that jump. It needs to be something worthwhile. It needs to be in keeping with who you are as the best. Because the 5125 always regards themselves as the best. And indeed, they do know, from my experience, they do know what the best is in many cases, whether that be products or people or circumstance. So I do listen to them, but it's built into you. You know, what is a worthy challenge for me, being the best in order to lead the people, in order to speak to the people. So, you know, you're not here to be a loser. And with the alpha channel as well, I don't know what it is that you do, but there is great potential there for guiding people down some very unusual and important paths. So the challenge is what I would say in terms of the ego authority. Is it worth my will to get involved with this invitation, whatever it may be? Is it worth my while to manifest something that is worthy of me, is how I would describe that. Your daughter also as an ego manifestor with the manifesting channel, which is highly material. So it's about, you know, what she's got and what she hasn't got, what she wants, you know, at a material level. And the thing that she wants most of all is to be the boss, you know, and she's a one-woman show. She's not going to take orders from anybody, including you, despite the fact that, you know, you have the elected leader as the voice. She's not going to listen. She's not going to listen to you. She's got her own will, and that's probably some of the clashes that you will have. Both of you need to respect each other, but in terms of the material aspect of her, it's really about her, getting what she wants at a material level. Most 45s, not all, but most 45s, they need a certain amount of luxury. They need a certain amount of bling around them. They, they must have what they want. So what is the material path for what they want is how I would describe that. But the two of you, if you can working together, it'd be very interesting what you two would manifest, and the real impact you can have on a great deal of people. So thank you for that part of the question. You mentioned about your cognition being feeling, and you've got an open solar plex. So I will just say the cognition is for you to feel into what is around you, to feel into the food before you eat it, just as you feel into the atmosphere of a place. This is part of the cognition that is naturally in you. And you have an open solar plex, so you don't have a emotional chemistry running through you in the ups and the downs. It's not so much about that. It's more like the effect of the cognition going out around you. So feeling is relational, and the relational aspect you have to the food before you eat it, to the person before you engage in speaking to them, etc., etc. Think of it in that way. So now let's go into our next question, also about manifestors. This is from RR-GL6IR. Hello, Richard. I have a question, and I would be so happy if you could help me with. I am a manifestor with emotional authority. At several occasions, I took decisions when somebody else before that encouraged me or told me to do so. Afterwards, I saw and I did like the new place situation myself, and I stayed. Did I enter correctly? Is the choice incorrect for me? Thank you very much. It's not easy for me to speak too much about the question because I don't really have enough details. So, for example, if you're a manifestor but you have an open G center, it's not for you to find your place. It's not for you to find your direction. And then in that case, someone suggesting you go somewhere or going there with you and saying, here's a new place to be, and you liking it and you feeling into it and you going, yeah, I know, I really think this place is cool. Just because you didn't find it yourself, that doesn't matter. In fact, that would be correct. You cannot know whether you want to be in a place until you're actually there, if you've got an open G, and it's for others to open that up for you. So it could be correct. To really know, it's about you feeling into it over time. And if you say, well, look, I ended up really liking the place or the situation, then yes, it was correct. I mean, that's your authority. If something in terms of emotional authority, something is not right for you, it will keep coming back again and again as an irritant, as something that will always kind of upset you again and again, not so much now, but then later, really important and then not so much. And this kind of movement, like an irritant. So if it's correct, there will be a peaceful place, a place where you can be yourself. There's this idea that manifestors should be going around initiating all the time. No, they initiate when it's correct for them to initiate. So yeah, I find myself grappling with too many intangibles without seeing the chart or knowing a little bit more about the situation. All I can say is it's not necessarily incorrect that you find yourself really liking somewhere when you didn't initiate to go there in the first place. Okay, that's really the best I can do with the information that I have on that one. Our final question is another one from QS and on a different subject. I have no line 4s in my design. How would this translate as a 6-2 cross of wishes with only individual circuitry, 1-8, 14-2, and 63, impacting the collective via creative streams that involves zero direct human interaction? Sounds like you're living my dream. Okay. it's a funny thing, you know, when someone has a chart and there's nothing in a particular line. And sometimes I've seen, to my great surprise, that the line that is missing is the thing that they really living or really trying to put into their life big time. In your case, with the 360 and the 14.2 and the 1.8, yeah, you've got to go in your own way, highly mutative, highly individual, really here to do your own inner work and find your own way. And as we know, aloneness is the medium of creativity. So in that sense, there would be an appeal, I think, to not be around too many people, especially as a 6-2. That natural hermit side, that natural separation, that natural distance that can come with that. It doesn't mean that you're here to be without any human contact at all. You know, you cannot make that assumption. I would assume that you're not going to be particularly good at networking or wanting to network. I would assume that you're not the first person to ring up and connect with people. You wait for them to come to you, probably, unless there's something that's important to you. So I doubt you're going to be a networker as a result of that. Certainly bringing something new to the collective will be there, and in that sense you will have contacts with others. The kind of urgency to bring something new out that can align people to their verticality in a beautiful and interesting and perhaps even surprising way. So all we can say is that you're here to bring out the new and live it, you know, and that is going to be impacting those people around you. You don't have to be friends with them, but you will still have friends. It doesn't block out friendship. Okay, that's my comment to you for that one. And thank you all for your variety of questions. We've gone all over the place today, haven't we? So I hope you've enjoyed that. And if you have, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will be back again next week with something completely different. Bye for now.